Hi, I'm Pauline, and in this video, we are going to uncover the science behind the floating and sinking of an object. Let's dive in and uncover the science behind it. Why does one object sink while the other floats? What if I told you that it all boils down in one simple concept called relative density? Relative density, also known as specific gravity, is the ratio of the density of a substance to the density of a reference material. Typically, water at specific temperature, which is equal to 1 times 10 raised to 3 kilogram per meter cube at 20 degrees Celsius. An object will float if its relative density is less than 1, indicating that it is less dense than the fluid.
Which one will floats and which one will sinks? The rock or the wood? But before we drop the object, let's calculate their relative density.
Here is the worded problem to our objects. Let's assume that the rock has a mass of 800 grams and a volume of 300 centimeter cube. A piece of wood has a mass of 200 grams and a volume of 500 centimeter cube. Assume that the density of water is 1 gram per centimeter cube. We are going to calculate the relative density of the rock and the wood. Identify whether the rock and the wood will sink or float in water. To calculate the relative density of the objects, we are going to find first the density of the objects. To calculate the density of the objects, we are going to use the formula of density. Density equals to mass over volume. But before that, let us find the given to our problem. The mass of the rock is 800 grams and the volume of the rock is 300 centimeters cube. The mass of the wood is 200 grams and the volume of the wood is 500 centimeters cube. The density of water is 1 gram per centimeter cube. So now, let's calculate the density of the two objects. Let's substitute the given to our formula. After we substitute our given to our formula, we do the mathematics. For the density of the rock, we have 2.67 grams per centimeter cube. For the density of the wood, we have 0.4 grams per centimeter cube. We know that when we have the same units, we are going to cancel it. In this case, we don't have the same unit, so we are just going to copy all the units. Remember that the relative density is simply the object's density divided by the density of water. So, the formula for relative density is relative density equals to density of the object or a substance over the density of water. Using the value of the object's density, we are going to substitute it to our formula. The density of the rock is 2.67 grams per centimeter cube, and the density of water is 1 gram per centimeter cube. The density of the wood is 0.4 grams per centimeter cube, and the density of water is 1 gram per centimeter cube. After we substitute our given value to our formula, we do the mathematics. So, the relative density of the rock is 2.67. The relative density of the wood is 0.4. We know that when we have the same units, we are going to cancel it. So, we are going to cancel all the units. Remember, the relative density of any substance is a number without units. If the relative density is greater than 1, the object sinks in water. If the relative density is less than 1, the object floats in water. The rock has a relative density of 2.67. Therefore, The rock will sink in water. The wood has a relative density of 0.4. Therefore, the wood will float in water.
The rock weighs more than the water. That's why the rock sinks. On the other hand, the wood weighs less than the water. That's why the wood floats.
Relative density helps us understand why objects behave differently in fluids. It's not a magic, but purely science. Thanks for watching. I hope you've learned something.